Welcome to our Spain. Hola. How are you doing today, Gaetano?
I am bueno.
Bueno, bueno, bueno. Do you have an our
My,
Spain today?
I think we both have an Spain today.
Mm-hmm.
We have fully ensconced ourselves in the Spanish lifestyle, in the manana way.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of proud of ourselves, but also not because this was a bit of an oopsies.
And oopsies for a couple episodes now, and we are truly sorry to our fans Carmen and Mark who have reached out to us and given us many ideas for shows and asked us questions, and they've been so great, and we're like, oh, we're going to give you a shout out on our episodes, and well, manana turned
Manana.
into manana.
Yeah. So thank you very much for it. And so we're going to dedicate this one to them. This idea, we're going to talk about Spanish homes and apartments in general. But also just thanks to everybody that's listening because our numbers have been going up and we're like super proud and excited that everyone's listening. And thank you. And if you do have ideas like Carmen and Mark had, please send them. And we will try not to be manana about it.
Exactly. But you know what, Tanya, I have to say this episode is befitting for Carmen and Mark because they did just get their NLVs and they will
Hmm.
be arriving soon. And today we're going to talk about what to expect when
What to
you move into a
expect.
Spanish home.
And we
What
hope that they don't cancel their tickets. It's
I
good
don't
and
think
bad.
they
It's good
will.
and
Yeah.
bad. We're going to talk a little bit about everything. So,
Is it bad though, or is it just the way it is? Because I don't find these things actually bad. They're just different than what I've been used to.
no, I think in any country, it's good and bad. So, I mean, I think everywhere there's things when you move into a new apartment or a new house that are going to be a challenge. And I don't think it's any different here. And it's just that I think sometimes when you move into a new country, maybe you don't know how to deal with some of that stuff. It's not, and I think that's more the issue because none of it's crazy. It's just like this is kind of how it is, and we're going to talk a little bit about the differences and what to expect. And I think the stress has more to do with the unexpected things and
Hmm.
then not knowing how to deal with things. And I think to that end, when people move, just reach out to other expats, reach out to your neighbors, and get help on things because it's nothing crazy.
Right. And there's the things that don't make sense until they do.
Right.
You live here long enough and you're like, that totally makes sense. Why did we
Hmm.
do it any other way?
I mean, to start, I look at how buildings are built here, and when we first moved, you can, I mean, in America anyway. I mean, they build houses in like 3 seconds, right? And it's all made
Hmm.
of wood, and it's very quick, and they're not really built to last. And when we moved here, I did notice that all the houses that were under constructions in the areas that we were sort of driving around outside of the city, concrete blocks. That's where they're starting, just
Right.
concrete and concrete. And you're like, in some ways, it looks old fashioned, and it is because it's better, and it takes a lot longer. It takes, obviously, it takes. People that are talented in those areas to
Right.
build them properly. But when you have a house that's made out of concrete like that, I mean, there's
Right.
issues with it, but
There's issues, yes.
mostly it's really nice that it's not made of wood. I will say, for the most part, I'm going to go with that.
Exactly. It's not made of wood, but also if you because it's made out of stone, if you want to renovate and move a wall, move a room,
Hmm.
sometimes not possible,
Well,
right?
and I will say, I mean, so we have a big old house that was built in the 80s, very very traditional build, very traditional Spanish look and everything. And when we moved in, I was like, yeah, let's hang some stuff on the wall. And then after the first couple of goes, I hung the necessities on the wall. And then I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm just not. And then Zena wanted to move rooms, which is fine.
Hmm.
She wanted a different room. And we are very fortunate and we have different rooms for her to pick from. So she picked another room. And she's like, I want this stuff on the wall. I'm like, no, it's not happening. Like, can we just paint the walls like a color or with a pattern or something? Because putting a nail into concrete, I mean, you need all the right equipment. I know it's not the
Right.
hardest thing in the world, but for me, it's a lot of work, and I just am not up
Concrete
for
and
it.
plaster is a big thing here. So the place that we live in now, that we're renting, was a gut renovation of an old apartment. So we actually have drywall on our walls, and many of
Oh,
friends
okay.
have been jealous of me. They're like, "What do you mean you just used a little nail to hang
Oh my
all your
God.
artwork?" Because we have a lot of artwork that I hung,
Yeah.
and it's just a little nail. And my one of my dear friends was like, "I had to have this drill bit and anchors
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. And then she told me that she just ended up getting those like Velcro sticky things that you put one side on the back of the picture, the other side on the wall, and hope it doesn't get too
Yeah.
humid.
So, I mean, I'm very jealous of your painting hanging situation because I don't know how thick your drywall is, but obviously thick enough to put a nail in, so that's
Hmm.
good. But we also have, because it's an old house, it's not the popcorn, but it has a texture. The walls have a little bit of a texture, and
Hmm.
that kind of also a little bit prohibits you doing that sticky stuff too. So, for us to renovate our house into a way that would make it easy to put things on the wall without getting somebody in with the proper drill bit and da 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 and a lot of planning, we would have to repaint and I mean, it would just, yeah, it's too much. And
It's too
so
much.
we paint. We
And
run
I
some
think it
things,
should
but
be
that's it.
noted that you brought up the texture of your wall. That's a very common thing here that they must have been doing a lot in the 70s and 80s and
Mm-hmm.
even 90s. And I personally don't like it either. Like it's
No,
hard. You can't paint it. It's a whole thing, but it is very common here. And there is a word for it. So someone please tell us the word. I think it starts with a G, like something. I don't know.
let's not guess.
Let's like guess. But there is a thing. There
There
is
is
a
a
thing for
thing. Yeah,
it.
no, I mean, it's definitely a look. We do have on the outside of the house more of what you would probably like I think they mix like gravel with concrete and kind of throw that on the wall, and that's how they sort of create the texture that's on the outside of the house too. So in order to fix that, we would have to have someone come in and scrape the whole thing down, and then I mean, so
Hmm.
that's a big project. So I don't mind it so much on the outside of the house, except that it is going to be a big deal to repaint. But on the inside of the house, it does make it difficult to hang things. And I have hung some things and I've succeeded, but it's taken me an hour or two to hang and make a hole. And it's
Right.
like, this is not how I want to spend my day. So it kind of things don't get done.
Right.
But the benefit of the concrete, I will say, this was the one thing that I love is that I didn't realize how much anxiety I had. Um, at the beginning of having a wood house and water. I didn't realize how much I was always like concerned about that because we got a new washer. It got plugged in, but it got plugged in incorrectly, and the water was running not into the kitchen, but into between the wall, I guess, right? It wasn't going out and it wasn't inside and it wasn't outside. So it was
Right.
somewhere in between, right? So in an American house or probably a British house, I would have been completely freaking out about that. Like I
Hmm.
clearly it's now sitting, there's a pool of water sitting somewhere inside the house being soaked up by all the wood, right? Obviously.
Right.
And so when the guy comes to fix it, and I'm just like freaking out. I'm like, what about the water? And he's like, it's gone. I'm like, what do you mean it's gone? And he's like, it's gone. Like this, it's away. It's in the Mediterranean. And I'm like, what do you mean? I just didn't connect. And then I realized that he's like, the whole house is concrete. It's gonna just disappear. There's nothing
Right.
to ruin with it. And I'm like, this is crazy. There is nothing to ruin in this house because it's made of tile and concrete. And I'm like, I
Right.
love this. I love it, love it, love
Right.
it.
It won't warp it. It doesn't make it immune from things like mold, what they call the damp here. I love it. Like the house
Hmm.
has got the damp, but it does protect it from rotting and termites and all those
Yeah,
other
there's a
things,
lot of
right?
things you're not getting because of it. Now, that's not to say that they're not sort of, I mean, they are quickly building houses here. I mean, so on in the suburbs, you can get
Hmm.
modular houses, but those are still made out of some kind of concrete, I think preformed concrete and walls and things that they then kind of
And
plop
metal too. I
together.
think there's a lot
And
of
metal,
metal
I
in
think
those.
probably a lot
Yeah.
of metal. You're right. So they can quickly build things in ways that still don't include a lot of wood. So I think
Hmm.
all in all, it's definitely I would consider that a bonus personally, for
Yes,
sure.
I think so. Yeah. I'll side note. I have a friend who's renovating a house, and they're doing a lot of like wood construction because they're from America. And he said the builders looked at him like he was crazy. And he was like, "Just do it." They're like, "Why are you building this wall out of wood? Why are we doing
Yeah.
this again?"
Yeah, and I remember when we were looking, I mean, there just wasn't a lot available when we were looking because we were looking in like 2021 and people were still not really doing showings. Sometimes depended on people's attitude towards COVID, whether they were even letting people into houses. It was all very difficult. And there was this one house that was super cute and it was like this little like Swiss chalet, right? 100 like wood,
Hmm.
wood, wood. And I remember like sending that to the real estate agent and he just texted me back and he just said no. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, it's so cute. He's like, it's all made of wood. And I don't think it's just that. I mean, maybe there's something to do with the temperature and the humidity here as well. That maybe
Yeah.
it's not just all these things we just talked about that are bad about wood. It's also, I mean, it's just the climate maybe as well. So I'm not saying don't go buy a house made out of wood or don't make your house out of wood, but I personally wouldn't.
Well, I mean, it is very humid here, so you don't really want a humid house in wood, and it's hot, so the concrete does retain the coolness for you. It does,
Yeah.
it helps with that.
And I do love having like the tile floor because for cleanliness and also for the heat. I mean, it is hot here. I hate to argue today with you about the humidity because I we usually argue about the humidity, but it is actually raining and hot today, so it feels like a swamp right now. But that's because it is actually raining and actually hot, but not because anyway. So yes, today is horribly
No,
disgusting.
it's
But
humid here too,
our
ladies and
dog will,
gentlemen. It is. It
yeah,
is.
our dog will just lay on the tile, and it's a great place for your pets to cool as well. If they don't, if you don't have air conditioning and things in your house.
And
So
that's very common in the city too. Most of these apartments, you'll find either some sort of marble, terrazzo, granity tile type floor. Tile, not as I mean, tile is not how an American would think it. Tile is these just big slabs of granite, marble, whatever they're using. Wood floors are not that common. You will see a lot of that kind of the I don't want to say linoleum, but that kind of fake wood they'll put over. I think I've seen that a lot in renovations too, where they'll put that over the marble because the marble might have been like some red marble that
mhm.
they did in the 70s. That's
Yeah, and
it's easier to
that might be like that plastic wood, which actually it
right.
can look really good, and it's also much easier to maintain. And also, you don't have the issue if something leaks that it's your wood is not ruined. So I think some of that stuff is will last a lot longer and can look really good actually. But we have tile. We have tile all over the house. Everything's tile. The baseboards are tile, and I like that for it's really easy to clean. Actually, if I just because we have four cats and a dog, if I just open all the doors, it just blows it all out. I don't even have to vacuum. I'm like, great.
All the dust bunnies are in one corner. Just get a bag and
I love
you're
it.
done
No,
with
it's great,
it.
and the same thing happens in the garden. We have this sort of vortex area where it seems like the wind is sort of gardening for us, and it just sweeps it all into several corners, and we can just go in there and sweep it up. So that's also quite nice.
Lovely.
That's the wind, not the house.
One thing about living in the city, we're talking about these apartments. What I found strange when I first arrived, and it's still a little strange to me. They love a hallway, so you'll find in the city in these apartments, you'll open the door, there'll be an entranceway, and then there's a very long hallway. I mean, I think our hallway is close to 50, if not more feet long,
But you
and
need that, don't you need that to put all the rooms off of it? I mean, if how I don't know how else you would rearrange it.
well, I mean, and ours is a redo. So our apartment is actually backwards the way it should, because in most apartments, you'll walk in and there'll be the bedrooms right away, and the living room will be far away from the front door. They're not always right
Mm.
by. It's not how like you're used to, right? It kind of depends where the apartment is laid out in the building and what the views are. But so yes, you need these long hallways, but I also look at them like, couldn't they have configured this in a different way where maybe the flow was a little bit different? Because I'm like, that's a lot of square footage wasted on on our hallways.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
nice though. It is does it's nice.
no, it is nice. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not complaining. It's just odd because, like in America, when you walk into someone's apartment, you usually walk right into their living room and dining room. You see the kitchen, and then the bedrooms tend to be tucked off to the
I
side.
would say that that overall what I've noticed is that in America, and I think the issue is that in America they've been doing the open plan and that sort of design for a lot longer than they have over here. So even something that's sort of 20 years old here is still going to have that kind of 80s, that 70s, 80s flow that an American house might have, where the kitchen is its own room and it's not open plan and that type of thing. And I think the apartment buildings, each apartment is given more of a square than a long rectangle. And I think a lot of the apartments here are long rectangles, like you
They
have.
are there are log rectangles because what you'll find in apartments, even in the new build, is the apartments are floor throughs.
Mm-hmm.
So to increase airflow, to less reliant on air conditioning and all that stuff. I mean, you need it no matter what, but it allows breeze and all that to come through. So, apartments have a front and a back window, and even in these like high rises, they'll have 4 or 5 elevator banks because there's 2 apartments per
Right.
elevator per floor. Even though there might be 10 apartments or 20 apartments on that floor, you can't access each of those apartments. You have to go downstairs, walk over to the other elevator bank, and then go back up
Oh, wow.
if the neighbor is knocking too hard on one of your walls, if they're not on your elevator ring, you got to go down and come back up, and then be like, is this the apartment that's next to me?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Yes, I've seen that in some of the bigger apartment buildings when I've gone to see a friend, and it's like, and it's like, make sure you go to elevator B. And I'm like, what? And then I realize, yeah, the building has a bunch of elevator situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think the overall, like, I mean, our house again was built in the 80s. So we still have a layout here where the kitchen has its own room, and it's not an open plan, but we do have a lot of living space, and the rest of the space is very nice for sort of light and all these things. But it's that is still kind of old-ish.
And I have to say, I love the traditional Spanish plan. I love having a separate kitchen. I love having separate rooms. I love having the doors to the room. And I think that's also a heating, air conditioning issue as well. But I like that these rooms serve their purpose. I'm not a fan of the open concept because I don't want to look at my dishes while I'm watching TV. I want to be able to focus that I don't have things I have to get done.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true. I will say though that if you do cook all your meals, which you do as well, I think,
Yeah.
you do spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and then you can't have somebody, especially with kids. I think an open plan is nice if you've got enough other rooms for people to get their own space. Like if you have a den as well and things like that, then I think an open
Hmm.
plan can work. But if that living room is your only living space, then I agree with you, because then that living space is just constantly being bothered by the kitchen and visually and noise wise and everything.
Right. And the
Yeah.
way they have them laid out, even the kitchens are smaller here, but they always have room. They always find room for at least a two-person table, right? So there is this kind
Right.
of like function of like there's still an eat-in kitchen because a lot of stuff's happening there. You might have what in the apartments in the city, they have what they call the gallery, which is most of the times off the kitchen, which is where your
Mm.
washing machine would be, because at a
Hmm.
lot of apartments it's not in the actual apartment. You'll find them in the kitchens, but you'll find them also in this thing called the gallery, which is this kind of outdoor balcony spaces where the washing machine is and you hang
Right.
your clothes from there, but it's not inside. But if you're doing laundry and cooking, you got to sit down at the kitchen table, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that they've adjusted recently with the new models is bigger bedrooms. I mean, we have
Hmm.
enough bedrooms in our house for like a 10-person family, but they still, one of the bedrooms, a wall was added into it with a door to add another room. So that it was like,
Right.
so we have this one bedroom that's really bizarre, where you go in through the door to the bedroom, and then there's another door to, like, another room, and which is kind of cool, but it's
It's
also
kind of
like,
like the princess suite. I've been there. It's
yes.
like a suite for a little princess. She has a receiving room.
Exactly. It is nice when we have people to stay that have small kids and they can have this ensuite room. But again,
Hmm.
from a family point of view of a regular thing, it's not very practical, and that wall is not really necessary. But they do love to make more rooms, more bedrooms here.
Well, if you're staying at home until you're into your 30s,
You
they
need
need
it. Yeah,
enough
that's
rooms.
true. Yeah, that's
and
very
and
true.
and especially in the city, in the apartments here, and well, I mean, I think in the country too, because I've looked at houses and townhomes. They'll have a relatively nice sized bedroom for the primary room, but a lot of them look like single dorm rooms from a university. It's enough for a twin bed and a desk and an armoire type, or a
If you're
built-in,
lucky. I've seen
if you're
rooms that
lucky.
literally a bed will fit in them.
Right.
That's it. You better have your clothes in another room or hanging from the ceiling or something.
Right.
Like maybe it's designed for the toddler in the house, or
Right.
something. And the layout, I mean, but I think this is anywhere other than more modern places where the layout can be funny. We looked at a house where it was like the living room, and then you went through a hallway with all the bedrooms and bathrooms off it, and then the kitchen was on the other side of that. So
Right.
no one's going to sleep when someone's in the kitchen or in the living room, because the two things are disconnected by the bedrooms. Like a horrible layout,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that I've seen some weird stuff, because some of those houses are kind of old, but I think with the modern with the modern houses, and if you were to buy a new apartment, that one of the options here is to buy an apartment or a house that's sort of in the process of being built from the developer. That's quite a common thing to do. I think that's awesome because you do get to pick how certain things are done, but it's also a huge risk because the house or the apartment is not built yet. So if something goes wrong, like I think during COVID, a lot of things with delivery and expense, the cost of things went up. It messed up a lot of things in that area. So it's a risk, but it's also can be a nice luxury, but you have to take on the risk for sure if that's the case.
Because I think they're also relying on the down payments from these people to ensure that they can get the money to finish the building and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it can be risky. It's what you don't find here, like you find in America, is like a tract home community where they've already got the plan to build 40 homes and they're just looking for buyers. Like they're already in that kind of process. You don't see tract homes here like you do.
You do. I mean, yeah, you do. Yeah. I mean, you mean like they have they have the land and they're just going to start building all the houses.
Right, but it's like you've got the 3 floor plans to choose from, and they're just gonna get out 50 homes.
Yeah, they have that here. They have communities that they're building, absolutely, and you can, they haven't built them yet, so you've got to pick your layout, pick the kind of finishes you want. They'll have levels of like expending, like how much you want to spend on all the things, and then, but then they have to build it. So this is exactly what I was talking about, which is these houses that aren't built yet, but that you buy. And obviously you get them at a little bit of a discount because they're not built yet. So theoretically, as soon as your house is built, it will cost more than what you paid for it a little bit, right? That's kind of what you're buying into. But it's not built. So you risk it never being built if something were to happen with the economy or something.
But they're also doing that with like townhomes and smaller apartment buildings where it's not even built and people are already putting deposits. Yeah, which you don't see as much of in the States. They kind of already got financing to build it, and then they're looking for people to come in. Now, whether it gets finished is a different story. But I don't know. I'm all scared by all of it. I haven't dipped my toes into purchasing yet, and we will have an interview with a real estate expert to hold our hands to that. I know you've done.
No, I think so. I think the other thing to touch on is water. We've touched on this a little bit in other episodes, I think. But since we're talking about houses, the water here is very, very hard. So that means it has a lot of minerals in it, and you can get a water filter very easily if you're in a house to put on the pipe that's coming in, and then you soften it with salt. And there are other ways to do it. We started with one where it was a magnet sort of system. Yeah, it was really interesting, and I thought this is going to be great. But it actually.
So you have a water softener in your house?
Yes, and it's with this magnet thing. But I have to say, I'm going to be honest, it doesn't work nearly as well as the salt one. So I think if you were to move and have another house, I would go for a salt one. The salt one makes you feel like you will never wash the soap off of your body.
Right. But growing up, we had one of those, and you're like, I'm just slimy. I'm just slimy, and I can't get a lather, right?
Yeah,
I'm not getting a lather, and it's not washing off.
Yeah, yes. But it does work, and obviously you have to keep putting salt in, so that's an expense and all that. But it works, and then, but that's obviously good for if you don't have anything. The magnet one has diminished a little bit the calcium deposits on the taps and stuff, but not enough that I would do it again. And then we have also the drinking water. So that's another filter that we have. And that one, we wanted the reverse osmosis because that's what takes out the nitrates, which is the problem that we have here in this area because of the farming, I believe. That's why I don't think this is something that doesn't happen in other places, but it's the first I've heard of it any place I've lived. So we have a reverse osmosis, and that you can put in an apartment, in a house. I mean, it takes up quite a bit of room, but it is feasible to put anywhere, I think.
Right. But usually that's done in like a one focal point, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like the kitchen sink. It's not for the
That's
whole
just for
house,
drinking. Yeah.
right?
I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
it also attached to the shower and that type of thing. You can, I mean, in fact, back when I lived in DC, we had a shower filter that you can, I mean, those are pretty easy to obtain and add on just to the shower head. So you get a special shower
Okay.
head that has a filter inside of it, and that takes care of what you need for your hair and stuff. Um, and so, I mean, that's all the things that we have in the house, and it all works pretty well, I think. So.
A lot more than me. I got a Brita in the fridge and I'm calling it a day. That's
So you are not filtering out the nitrates.
nope, nope.
We're just
If
going to
I glow
risk
in the
that.
dark at night, oh well, that's the way it is.
And this is why you will see little old ladies and everybody buying these massive bottles of water in the store. And you're like, what is everybody doing? I mean, they're buying the
Right.
filtered water to get, because they don't want to put a filter in their house. And we would just, after a couple of months, we were like, oh my God, if we have to carry these bottles of water for the rest of our life, this isn't worth
Right.
it.
I've seen a lot of expats with these. I think it's Berkeley filters. Have you seen those big
Mm-mm.
like? It's a huge apparatus of metal
Okay.
that is. They're very expensive, and I haven't used one yet. But my friends swear by them, and it's some sort of
Okay.
thing. And you buy this filter like once, very rarely, and it filters the water. They have them on their counters. It's this big
It goes
stainless
on the
steel thing.
counter or it fits under the sink?
No, it goes on the counter. Like you pour the water into it, and then
Oh,
push the
okay.
button to get your water out. It looks like
Okay.
a
Yeah.
sparklets thing, but it's this big aluminum or metal probably stainless steel, probably not aluminum, stainless
Yeah.
steel thing. And I don't really quite understand it, but it's like a big camper thing too. I think rural people use it. I don't know, but I looked in it, but I'm not investing in it
Right.
right
No,
now.
right. No,
So
I mean, that's
now
another way.
Berkeley, if you want to send us one or two,
We'll try it for you.
we'll try it.
I have not heard of that, but definitely worth looking. The thing that the with the um research that I did, it was the nitrates that you want taken out, and that is what doesn't really come out in a regular filter. I will say, without filtering or anything, our water tastes amazing here. There's nothing wrong with the
Mhm.
taste of the water. It's clear, it's beautiful, but this is all just like the nitty gritty things. But that has nothing to do with like the taste of the water. I think it tastes really, really good here.
I would say something else that is kind of odd about moving here and seeing the neighborhoods that you might not be used to in the States is there's no curb appeal, right? Especially when you go into the suburbs and the urbanizations, like there's walls around all
Mm-hmm.
these houses, and it's a little off-putting. When we first visited a few years ago, and we were driving around all these different neighborhoods, and I was like, is it not safe here? And she was like, oh no, this is one of the best neighborhoods. I'm like, are you sure? Because I see roofs. I see walls and roofs. I don't
And
see
bars.
anything and bars
So
and
you've
roofs
got
and
bars,
green mesh
right?
barriers.
You've got bars, and then, well, I mean, that's if you can even see the house. I mean, for the most
Right.
part, you just see walls, and you're driving around, and you can't really see the houses, and I would say I had the same thing when we first moved and we were looking around. I was like, did we make the wrong decision? Did we move to some place that's really unsafe? Because there's massive walls and bars everywhere if you're looking at
Hmm.
houses. And it is just how they do things here. And I think I did hear this thing that the bars had initially had to do with insurance. I don't know if that's really true, but it was one of these things where you couldn't get insurance, or your insurance was less if you had bars on your windows. But this was from many, 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 many years ago.
So I've heard, I mean, I did my own research because what I researched was because I was looking on the Idealista back on the couch in Los Angeles and thinking, why are all these bars on the windows? Did a little research. They've been around
Oh,
forever
forever.
because it's forever. It's because it's a safety thing. So while you were working in the fields, you could leave all your windows open to air out the house without some random
Uh,
animal coming in or person coming in and taking things, but you could leave your house open in the town and
mm-hmm.
go out and work the fields and know everything was safe, and your dog wasn't getting out and a dog wasn't coming in. I'm sure there's probably some insurance thing to it as well now because we live in a hostile world, and so I'm sure they probably.
No, I feel like the insurance thing was from like the 80s, and it just never got, like, the situation of how houses were built and things never got renewed. But I like what you said. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It is hot here. You don't want to close up
Mhm.
your house and leave. If you're going to be gone the whole day, you're going to come back. Your house is going to be a friggin' oven. So
Right.
I love that idea. And I will say, from living in a house with bars, it doesn't bother you, and it is quite nice. And I think I think that security is nice, even though I don't feel at all unsafe here.
Right.
And the way the gardens are, like the walls give you privacy. So, it's not like America where you have a house and a front yard and anyone can just walk up to your front door. I mean, it's just not like that.
Right.
There is a gate and a wall protecting your whole garden area. So that means your whole garden area, front and back, is private, which is nice
Right.
as well.
It's wonderful. And it's a weird dichotomy here, right? This is such a social people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are out and they have fiestas and they're out in the town center, but when they get home they want their privacy.
100%,
right? It's like they're so
from your neighbors too. It's like you don't want this idea of sitting outside of your own house and chatting with neighbors like that are walking by does not happen. That only way to get that is to take a walk in your community, walk your dog or take a walk, go around with your kids. Then you will stop and talk to all your neighbors and it's very chatty, but you don't go just up to someone's house and like, hey, like that is not a thing.
Right.
I mean, maybe with your direct neighbor, but even then, I mean, we'll have some, it's very different. And it is funny because you think of the Spanish and they are very, very, very social people generally. So I think it is quite funny.
Yeah.
But I like it. It does make everything that your whole garden is private, which I think is kind of nice. And speaking of gardens, the one thing that took me a little while to get used to is the fake grass.
Okay.
Which is another thing that makes things look weird, I think, when you come from England or America, I think, because it's just not that common to use fake grass. It might be becoming a bit more common in certain areas, but it's like, it's weird. You have these beautiful houses and then fake grass. And you're like, why did you put fake grass next to this beautiful house? And then now that we've lived here for some time and we have grass, and I'm like, God, I wish it was fake grass. Like you start getting used to it and start looking at it differently. And I look at it, it's completely a nice thing for me now. I'm like, oh, that would be really nice to have.
Well, we're from the Southwest, LA, and I grew up in Vegas. And fake grass has become quite the thing, especially during the droughts and all of that. But I do prefer some real grass now. I don't want to mow it, and that's why I live in an apartment. But anyway.
Well, you don't want to mow it, and you also don't want to water it. So I mean, in this climate, this is LA climate more or less, right? So yeah, if you're coming from England, you don't have to water it. You do still have to mow it, but you don't have to water it. Well, right now you might, but generally speaking, and here, if you have grass, it will be requiring a lot of water to maintain it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot of both maintenance and mowing. So I would say the fake grass is nice, but each to their own,
It's each to their own. Yes. I haven't been faced with that problem yet.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I do want to, it's not that different here, but I do want to kind of just quickly, since we were talking about water, talk about the showers. We talked about the filter, no problem. We have a continuous water heater, which I always dreamed of. I thought that was the greatest thing, because if you have a family, sometimes you have to wait if you have a water heater. We are all now on the side of kind. I would be happy to wait to not have a continuous water heater. And maybe I when you go around like Leroy Merlin, the hardware store, they have these little ones that you can put next to the shower. And I was always like, why do they have a whole section of shower continuous water heaters? And I was like,
okay, they're like little minis.
Yeah, they're little minis. And they've got like a woman in the shower and she's super happy. And I'm like, why do they have that? And then when we moved into this house, I know why they have that. Because if you have a continuous water heater on the other side of the house from your bathroom, it's not powering a shower all the way upstairs on the other side of the house continuously perfectly. Because with the continuous water heater, it needs to get a message that it needs to make hot water. And if you want like a very lukewarm shower, there's a bit of a disconnect in the flow of water. And there is a point where it stops producing hot water because it's like, oh, you don't need it. Like you put it down so low
Gotcha.
that you don't want it. And I have messed with all the little settings on that thing, and I feel like I've got it at the most sensitive that it's possible, and we still run into that problem. So I am like 2 steps away from Leroy Merlin and buying my little cute little shower continuous water heater to stick on the wall there.
I think you should. I
Mhm.
think you should. I
Then
think
I
you
could be
should.
that
I
happy
think we have.
woman.
Yes, you have one life to live. You might as well make it a
Right?
happy one, right? The other thing that they have here in all the houses, well, I think most houses and in all the apartments, which I adore, are the blackout shutters, right? To
Oh my
keep the
God,
light
so
out, and
great.
it's like they're like hurricane shutters
Mm-hmm.
that you would find in Florida, but they will black out to keep the house cool. So if you're gone all day, you put those down, and your house may be stuffy, but it won't be as hot knowing there's this hot sun beating into your house all day.
Yeah, and
Um,
to be clear,
but the thing is, the downside of those is they really black stuff out. So if you've got them all done, we have overslept or slept way into the day in the summertime because we're like, how's it 2? Because the place has been dark. I slept so well. It must be 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark,
oh my God. So I was just in England, and it gets light at 5:30 in the 5 o'clock in the morning. It is like noon.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waking up like, oh my God, I overslept. And I look at the clock, I'm like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I really could have used some of those blackout shadows.
I've been to England this summer, and I don't know why they don't have that. We were with our friends, and like, oh, make sure you put the shades on, and they had these little gossamer
Oh God, they've
blinds.
got
You
nothing.
know?
But to be clear, I want to clarify your verbiage because you make it sound like shutters. They are these sort of plastic roll blinds that come down that are built into the wall, and you pull them down on the side with a there's a rope on the side that goes around, and you pull that, and it slowly winds them down. So it's not shutters that open and
Right,
close like you're thinking of like wind shutters in like New England or something, that type of thing.
right,
They're
right.
like they're almost like blinds that are rolled up at the top. So it's a whole mechanism that also can break. And we've had a few break. Then it's not brain surgery, but sometimes they break and then the whole thing comes down and it won't go up until you fix it. So, but it is really amazing. And one of the things if you live in a house is something that you can do in the summer is not open all your windows, close all the blinds, and have a very cool house because it's made of concrete, right? So if you don't
Mm-hmm.
let the sun in, kind of what you were just talking about, you can actually maintain quite a cool house on a really hot day by making
Yes.
sure that you have everything shut down before you get into the day. And it's quite hard to do because I love having the light and everything. So it really goes against my feeling of wanting light in the house. But when it's cool at
Right.
midday and it's baking hot outside, it's then at that point you're like, okay, that's maybe worth it.
And these shutters, for lack of a better word, though, the way they do have a varying degree, right? If you can just about close them, and then there's like these little dots
Yes.
through each
That's
slat, so you can get some light
little
through.
rays
Yeah.
of light will come through. And then also
Yeah.
people close them when they close their house down. So it's an extra security. If they're not going to be at the house, you put those down. It keeps the house,
Right.
obviously stops the sun from coming into the house and keeps everything secure on top of the bars. So, I mean, they have a lot of purposes, but the best is this blackout situation for sleeping is amazing.
It is amazing.
So that is
For
that is
sure.
what the little rope that's on the side of the windows is for, just in case you get into that.
Yes.
It's like, what is this? What does it do? That's what it does.
And sometimes they're electronic. My bedroom one
Oh,
is
I'm so
electronic, while the rest
jealous.
of them are yeah, it's kind of nice. Well, don't be so jealous. It takes forever. So
I
the
don't
rope works a
care.
lot
I
quicker.
can do it from a remote, laying in bed. Like, how spoiled are you exactly?
There's not a remote. I have to get up and do a light switch
Oh,
to
you
make
have to
it
do a
go. Yeah,
light
it's very
switch.
difficult. I mean, I'm gonna
Gosh,
do a GoFundMe for
I
my
think you
mental
should.
health
That's
for this.
really tough. But they are awesome. But yeah, I forgot to mention you can obviously have all this can be automated. You can probably do it on your phone if you have a new fancy modern house, I'm sure.
Yeah. and and I would like to also mention that, like, we talked about the country, but living in the city, um if you have an apartment with an elevator, which is common, there
Hmm.
are a lot without elevators. The elevators are very small, so they're not going to fit a lot of stuff, and you'll see a lot of deliveries happening by these electronic elevator ladder type things. And so you'll
Oh,
see someone getting a washing machine and you're like, should I be walking on the other side of the street where there's like
yes.
this washing machine and this flimsy ladder being moved up electronically, and there's the windows are open and there's like three big guys there waiting to get to
Yeah, I've
collect the
seen that
thing?
movie
Yeah.
on the other side.
Like those old cartoons with the piano hanging over the
Right?
side and Bugs Bunny gets smushed by it or something.
Apparently, you didn't get one of these when you moved in your TV or your bed head or something, right? You were telling me that you all had to
No,
drag it
no,
up the stairs on top of it.
we were able to fit it up the stairs. When our couch arrived, they were a little nervous it wasn't going to fit up the staircase,
Yeah.
and they were like, we don't have the truck with the ladder on it. We
Oh.
can't move it through your window.
Because to be
My
clear,
neighbors,
the elevator is tiny, but the stairs aren't that much bigger, and they're going around in a circle around the elevator. So you have to be able to
yeah,
make those turns. So it's not like, oh, you've got a
yes,
stairs that will take it. That could also
yeah.
be a problem.
Exactly. So just be prepared that things might be delivered through your window. Big ticket items might be coming through your window. And it's quite common here. And it doesn't add some weird expense. Like, I feel like in the States, if you had to, deliver something
Oh
through a
my
window, it'd
God.
be $1,000.
Yeah.
And here it's just kind of like, it's an extra like €30 add-on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to the delivery cost. It's expected. So it's not some weird thing that they can
Right.
gouge you
Tell
on.
me something about living in a house where we particularly are, it's all light. I mean, it's very, very bright. But when I walk around the city, and maybe you can tell me from your apartment as well, like when you're looking at apartments, the roads in Valencia are not that skinny. I mean, some of them are, but I mean, you are still blocked from light, actual sunlight, I would assume, in most apartments that are maybe on the first floor. Would that be correct? Or like, how is the light in the apartments?
So I would see your street side rooms if you're on like the lower two floors. Now it all depends on the building across the street, right? So if it's only 3 or 4 stories, that first floor apartment's gonna get a lot of light. In my neighborhood, most everything is like 7 stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're floor 4 and above, you get light all day
Mm-hmm.
in every day. Our apartment, we is a very bright apartment, but we don't see the sky from our front. Now in the back, it faces the courtyard, and it's a large block. So I don't want to say courtyard, but the
Right.
inner of the block, right? So all the buildings, that's very wide. So the back side of our apartment, which is where the bedroom and the family room is, that gets bright light all day and night. I
Mm.
mean, it just the sun's up. It won't be blaring in because it faces west, but in the afternoon it's blaring in. But
So
like
you
my
might, so
bedroom
this is
is
also the benefit of having these long apartments where you might get a lot of light on one end and not the other. So you can get both. You can actually maybe get some light into your apartment. Um,
or it's switch. Like if you're facing east west, you're getting the morning and then the
right.
afternoon.
Yeah, yeah,
North south. The same way. You're getting that
yeah.
kind of
Well,
thing.
I think this leads us nicely to slide into what to look at when you're looking on Idealista and all these Photocasa places, because you can read it, but really look at the photos and try and see what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in the photos, because they might not have put everything out properly of whether it has heating, air conditioning, and stuff like this. And also look out the window and see how big the building is on
Mm-hmm.
the other side if you can, like all those little things.
Right. I got really good at Google Maps, so this is little
Oh
tips
yeah. Oh, that's a
because
good idea.
I got so good at Google Maps that because they won't give you addresses for privacy concerns, and a lot of times you'll see they have the blinds closed or they're taking the pictures at night, so you can't figure out. Or so they may just say what street it's on. So I've gotten really good with like the Google Earth map thing, the satellite vision of like, okay, there's the building, like where's it at? Like, oh, I saw a sign, so I'm like googling that restaurant. What street is that restaurant on?
Oh my
If I
God. So
saw
if
a
you
sign
can
for
see out the
something.
window, you can really do some sleuthing there. I
Yeah,
love
it's just
it.
sleuthing to find exactly where the apartment is and then what floor it is. And then if you go to the street view, like it says it's on the 4th floor. Well, let me see what it looks like from the
Oh my
fourth floor,
God.
like from the street.
You clearly had a lot of time when you were doing this during COVID.
Yeah, I had a lot of time.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and also the heating and the air conditioning, like it might say it does, but look around the rooms and make sure there's a heater or an air conditioner in the window. So often it's not built-in air conditioning in what you might be used to in America. It's going to be like a wall unit, which by the way are great. Like it doesn't sound great, but I love it. Like when we had an apartment, we had a window unit in each room that we had, and therefore
A
you
window
could
unit or the
the split
splits?
thing, like the window, not the, I'm sorry,
Right.
yeah, not the window unit. It's like it's above the window, and it's a heater air conditioner, and then it's like on the outside it has the pump and everything, and then you're getting
Right.
heating and air conditioning from this one unit. It doesn't look as nice as having a central unit, but I will say you can air condition the room you're sitting in. You can heat the room you're sitting in. And I
Right.
love that as far as like management of your costs, and also just like, why am I heating a whole apartment or a whole house? Like, it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to a house, I mean, we don't have heating or air conditioning because our house was built in the 80s and it's not fully renovated. So we don't have either.
And it was a vacation home too,
It was a
right? So they
vacation
weren't
home too. Yes, it was
expecting.
a summer
Yeah.
home. But if we wanted to heat this house or air condition this house, if we wanted to put that in, our bill would be thousands a month to do that.
Right.
And really, we've managed, to heat with the electric space heaters, and we have fans and open windows, and it does the job completely. And we don't have those
Mm-hmm.
expenses. And in an apartment, I think it was really nice to just not be heating and air conditioning bedrooms that we weren't in. And so I
Right.
loved it.
No, I have central air in our house, and it does, like, we don't often use the family room, and that room's getting a lot of air conditioning because it's also the hottest room
Right.
in the house because it faces the western window. And so yes, I do get annoyed, but I have figured out the timer on our air conditioner, so now it goes on and off 4 times in the day,
Oh, there you go. Just to
two
give you a
hour
little
spurts.
squirt of
Yeah.
like, this is what it
Yeah.
feels like to be cool. Okay, now get hot. Jeez.
Pretty much.
But I will say, even like when we lived in DC, we had obviously the whole air conditioning, heating central system, and I will say we only had one thermostat. I mean, it was for the whole house, right? So it is my dream at
Right.
some point. If I don't think if I have a house this big, you want multiple thermostats and systems going so that you can manage it better.
Right.
Because when everything's on one thermostat, it's never right, really.
Our neighbors upstairs, their apartment was renovated more recently than ours, and they have 3 zones in their
That's what you would
apartment, and
want.
I'm very jealous of that. Yeah, because when they can just keep their bedrooms at night, and the rest of it
Mm-hmm.
or they'll keep it the rest at like 76 in the bedrooms at 72 at night, and then flip it during the day. I was like, oh, just rub my face in your
That
warmth
is
and
super fancy. That is
prestige.
super fancy and super custom. You are not gonna like rent an apartment that has that. I don't think. Then and I that's the only person I know that even has that like in a house. I think
No, it was new to me, and I'm very jealous of them.
that's incredibly nice. Yeah, I mean that is a dream. That is absolutely a dream, and that is what you'd want to do. I think. But yeah, I think definitely take a look at when you're looking at apartments and stuff, and just look at the pictures properly and make sure that they have the things you need.
The descriptions are often wrong when it comes to the heating and air conditioning, and make sure you look when you say, oh, third floor, make sure it says with lift,
Unless you want
because
the
you
exercise,
don't
some people
necessarily
do.
unless you want the exercise. Our elevator was out for a month, and it's not fun planning groceries because I went to the groceries like 3 times a day because you can't lug up huge bottles of water or tons of groceries. You can't lug up your little carts. I'm like, I've got 2 hands and 2 bags. That's all that this
Isn't
grocery
this what
shopping
kids are
trip can
for?
be.
I don't understand. You have 2 little kids.
They're in school all day.
If you
I'm just a
do people
housemate.
get groceries delivered? Because I wonder if they would drag it all up to your apartment for you, or whether they leave it at the bottom.
I don't know. I mean, there are groceries. I mean, the
Hmm.
Mercadona I know has their own
Yeah,
delivery on the app. I would assume they're walking it up the stairs. I mean, what's if
they would
you're
have to,
an
right?
older person, you can't be going down. Yeah,
The
they'd
only
have
person
to.
I know that does this is my mom in England, and obviously they're very nice to her, and they bring it right into the kitchen. And if she wanted, I'm sure they would also put it in the fridge for her. But I mean, I don't know anybody here that gets their groceries delivered. I just know they do it. So maybe that's an option if you're somebody that happens to you and you don't have the physical ability. You could maybe do that. Um,
And I will say, side note, on since we're on the grocery delivery, I haven't done it yet because I looked. I'm used to like the Instacart in America where you order your groceries and they're coming in an hour.
mhm.
And Here it's 3 days. So you're like doing a grocery order. And I was like, well,
Uh,
I don't want to wait 3 days. I'll be to the store in 3 days. So I haven't done it. But I've thought about it. Like maybe I should get like 5 boxes of like cat litter and like
oh, yeah,
tons
all
of
the
the
heavy
soda water that we
things.
do. Maybe I should get these big items done
Hmm.
and that I don't have to make those
But I
trips.
will
But
say,
I
like,
never
I've
did
talked to
that.
Jawad about this because I was like, I think there's a point where we should. He's very organized with shopping and he does most of the shopping, I think. But if I go shopping, I'm very, like, I want to buy little things that I see. And I'm like, I think we would benefit from just getting it delivered because then we just shop online. We get
Hmm.
the delivery once a week and you're done, you know?
When I was doing the Instacart during the COVID and all those things, then I got hooked onto it. My grocery bills did go
Hmm.
down a lot because I wasn't impulse
Right.
buying. I wasn't walking
Yeah.
down and I wasn't seeing the things that were on sale that I didn't necessarily want. Like,
So I think there's a benefit to that.
So
So we've
yeah.
been, yeah, I was like, I think I want to do it. And then the I think the maybe the last thing to talk about, since we're talking about houses kind of related, is the pool. We did have our pool renovated. So I think, there are obviously there's companies that do that. We had one; it was very efficient. We had the option. It seemed to be there's like basic options if you need to renovate a pool, where you can get it tiled, which I think is probably the most expensive way to go. You
Hmm.
can have they have like a prefab sort of shaped, probably I don't know,
Like the fiberglass
fiberglass pools that are
pools,
kind
like
of
the
pre-done and they just bring it
hmm
in and plop it in and then they finish it. And then we went with like the vinyl that kind of looks like tile, but they have a lot of different vinyl patterns. So ours from far away looks like the little tiny blue tiles, but when you get close, it's just the vinyl and it's really cool. I love it.
So a question I have for
Mm-hmm.
you with the pools is, so I've lived in several places in the States. And so like in we lived in Nevada, you're getting concrete pools. When we lived in New Jersey, you were only getting liner pools with like a metal side
Mm.
because the ground was so mushy that concrete would crack
Oh,
and
interesting.
and
Okay.
and the freezing and all that stuff. And in California, you get more like the concrete pools and stuff. Now your pool, you have the vinyl, but what's it covering? Is it straight to dirt or is it
No, it was so
inside of
cool actually.
concrete?
They did so ours was already a hole, which so we saved a lot of money with the fact that the hole was already there. I think it's quite. I think you
Okay.
need planning and all these things to dig a hole and all that stuff. But ours was kind of already there, but it had tile that was all broken. So they took out the tile that was broken. They put in all the new pipes and everything, and then they concreted the whole thing. But on the bottom, there is like, is it called rebar? Like
Mm-hmm.
the is it
Rebar.
rebar, like the strips of like the mesh of metal?
The
Yeah. So
rods.
it had the
Yep.
rebar on the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, and then and then they sort of poured concrete all over that to fill it, so it's completely concreted. They put in new steps and things because we wanted proper steps versus the metal ones that went in. So they built steps also out of concrete. So they made these
Mm-hmm.
sort of nice round steps all made out of concrete, and those were like the breeze blocks, and then they rounded it off with concrete and made everything perfect and smooth and beautiful with the concrete, and then they put the vinyl on top of that. So yeah, so
Okay.
it's very obviously it's very 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 secure and
Sturdy.
perfect. Yeah, but I was
Yeah.
impressed looking at the process because I had no idea how a pool was made. So I'm just like, I mean, they're probably like, why does she keep like looking at us? And I'm like, because it's so fascinating. And then with the vinyl, you can pick like, I mean, or obviously with tile too, you can pick all sorts of designs and things. So I mean, there's lots you can do visually.
Right.
But yeah, it was kind of fun to watch actually. So yeah, that's the pool part, and obviously having a pool in as part of your house is a nice perk when you live out of the city. But it is another thing to maintain, with all the
Right.
mechanics and cleaning and all that's another thing to clean. So, but they do have like everything you would have in any other country. I think they have little robots you can put in to clean the pool, and so or you can just get a pool boy.
And if you're inclined, I'm sure there's a pool
There's
service. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm sure if there's pool boys
yes,
and
for sure.
all of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
But
And gardeners, if you don't want to mow your lawn, I'm sure they have
yes,
gardeners here and all that,
absolutely.
right?
You can get anything you need to help to make your life easier. Absolutely. I think that's it. I don't have anything.
I think that's it. I don't know what else is to discuss, but if you have any other questions specific about what you want to know, what the housing situation is like, what if things
Hmm.
you want to get used to,
Stick it
we'll be happy
stick it
to
in the
tell you.
comments.
Yeah, we can maybe there. If we get enough, there might be a whole new episode
Right.
to add on to this.
All the things we forgot in the first episode. It wouldn't be unheard of, let's just say.
Well, adios, Tanya.
Hasta luego, as they say.
Hey, can't get enough of us? Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spain Podcast.
And on our website, ourspain.com, which we will be updating with exciting new things as we grow.
We would love for you to message us with any topics you would like to hear about.
See you next time.
Bye.